I'm so excited to bring you this topic. I felt like there was this constant little hint from the universe coming to me through my clients, through a lot of the conversations I've been having around sales. And I wanted to be able to bring you the 5 tricks that's going to put more soul into your sales conversations, because I keep hearing it. And you know what? Sales is not that challenging. Sales is a service. And so I want to show you guys how you can use these 5 easy ways to be able to close more deals from like an integrity perspective. The reason why this is on my heart so much is a couple of things. Well, number one, like I said, I've been having these conversations come up with clients, so I think that this is something that people really need to hear. But whether you're new to business or you're more seasoned in business, we find that we get into these really normal sales ruts, right? Where we're so used to having the same conversations and getting on the phone and maybe being rejected that we're not putting as much value and as much soul into how we're selling. And so I really know that this is a key area that stops a lot of people, because how can you invest in your business if you don't have the cash flow coming in, right? And so if you've downloaded my From Burnout to Breakthrough guide so that you have identified the 6 areas where you need to build your sustainable business, if you haven't downloaded that yet, go ahead on my website and download that, because in that section there's something specifically around money, and one of them is your sales skills. So I'll have conversations with people where they're like, I really want to up level, I really want to invest in this thing in my business, I don't have the cash flow. Well, that means you need to sell more, right? But it doesn't mean that it has to be sleazy. It doesn't mean that it has to be a used car salesman type of sales perspective. So my intention is by the end of you watching this video, you'll be able to implement these things in your business. And so when you get on sales conversations, they don't feel like there's all this pressure. They feel like you're excited, that you're having a really collaborative conversation, and that they're in integrity with your values and your potential client's value. But let me just say, like, sales hasn't always been easy for me. It really, really hasn't. Sales was scary. Sales was like a lot of pressure. Sales was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get on the phone. And I would get all nervous and pit sweaty and all that crazy stuff. When I first started my business, I was convicted that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I had some skills to offer, but I had no idea how to really communicate the value. Like most of you may know, I do have a marketing background, and I also have coaching background, if you will. And so I was going to combine those skills. Please don't mind my printer. It's just going off at the perfect time, right? So I really didn't know how to communicate the value and have the confidence so that people felt, yes, this is the person to go with. And I remember when I got back from vacation one time, and there was a voicemail left on my answer machine that said, hey Kiara, I don't know what you're doing, but I really know somebody that you should be in contact with. Now, she didn't know what I was doing because I didn't really announce to the world that I was starting my own business yet. I just had this conviction that, hey, this is the thing I was going to start doing. Well, lo and behold, she had a connection with a very important person in Washington, D.C. And about a week later, I was sitting across the table from a COO who was ready to invest in their business. They needed support with their marketing team, and they needed coaching and leadership development as well as my marketing expertise. So I go in there and I'm talking and we're having a good time, we're vibing, she really gets me, I really get her. And then the dreaded question happened. So how long will this take and how much do you cost? And that's when I clammed up. I sat there so freaking nervous and scared to move. And I hemmed and I hawed and I was like, well, you know, I will go back and I will write you up a proposal and I'll have it in your inbox by the end of the week. I was trying to buy myself time. And she goes, oh, no, that's not going to work. I need to know right now. I need to know what your rate is. I need to know how long this is going to take because I need to do calculations right now because I need a solution right now. And I remember before walking into that meeting, my husband said, Kiara, whatever you do, double your rate. He was talking about doubling my side hustle rate because I had done some marketing for people on the side, but he knew I was going into a corporation and he knew my value. And in my head, I thought, well, dang, it's worth a shot. And I blurted out, double my rate. She paused. Okay. How long will it take? Well, it's probably going to take a couple months to see some results. I completely based that off of my previous experience leading marketing teams. So I knew how long it took to turn a team around. And so she literally pulled out a calculator and did the calculations. And I'm literally seeing my value being calculated on a calculator, live and in person, literally getting ready to see how much potential money I can earn and waiting for her to go, oh, too expensive. But instead she goes, how soon can you start? And so holding my composure, I said, in a week, and run out of there, screaming with excitement. I was beyond happy and excited for what just happened. And you would think, well, dang, that was easy. Here, you're a sales pro. But it actually did quite the opposite. Because it was so easy. And as an ambitious, high achiever, hard worker, in my head back then, things had to be hard. So in order for me to really earn something, hey, Coach Tawana, how are you? In order for me to earn something, for it to be really valuable, I had to put in a lot of hard work. So what did I do? My mind chalked that up as, oh, that's a unicorn. That's an anomaly. I just got lucky. And so I start to relate subconsciously to every single deal that I closed as a unicorn. There were times where I got paid in full. Oh, that's a unicorn. There were times where people wanted to invest in me 2 and 3 times in 1 month. Oh, that's a unicorn. I never gave myself credit for the relationships I was creating, the authenticity, the soul that I was putting into my sales. And so that brings me to my first point, mindset. You guys know that I talk about mindset all the time. Many of my clients may get frustrated at me because when we start with mindset first, when you're a high achiever, you don't want to waste your time with that. You're like, let me get to the doing. Get me to the tips. Tell me how to do it. Let me knock it out. And really, it comes down to your mindset and the intention. Okay? So I had to go from sales and winning deals being this unicorn lucky kind of thing to a place of abundance, to a place of expecting and acknowledging and respecting that I had something to offer that was of service. So that's one of the first places I want us to look. What's your intention with sales? And intention is looked at in 2 different ways, okay? When we talk about intention, first, you need to do the work before getting on the sales call. Who am I? What do I have to offer? What is the purpose of my service? What is my intention of this call? Some of those answers may look like, I intend to be a full service and listen very carefully to what this prospective client needs. I intend to be in integrity, and if it's not a match, to be able to say so and refer them out to someone else. I intend to show up fully in my power and tell them the truth about what I see, even if they may not want to hear it. I intend to honor myself in my prices and not negotiate so low that I don't feel like it's an equal energetic exchange. This really proves to be true with service providers because we're assigning a dollar amount to the service and the results that we create. And sometimes when you don't have a lot of overhead, you don't factor in a lot of the expenses. So what you have to factor in are things like your years of experience, the results that you've created, the amount of resources that you have, the amount of accessibility. When you work with me privately, there's a high level of accessibility, high level. My clients literally have me in their back pocket. I am literally connecting with my clients on an everyday basis so that in the moment that they need a shift, they get me. That comes with a high level of investment, a premium to have that type of coach on your shoulder. is a high level investment. And I won't move from that because I know the results that it can create. And so if they're not able to meet that level, then I've created other ways. But my intention is to be in integrity with who I know myself to be and what they need. Does that make sense? So then when you get on the phone, there's a whole nother level of intention. When you get on the phone, you want to set up the intention at the very beginning. Well, maybe not at the very beginning, right? First, you're going to get connected, right? You're going to say, hey, how's the weather? Last time we chatted, what's going on? Connect. I usually go pretty vulnerable. They say, hey, how you going? How you doing? And I'm like, oh, it's been a crazy morning, but I'm glad to be talking to you. Because it's usually the truth, right? Hey, Sophia, thanks for joining. And so you get connected for a little bit, and sales conversations don't have to be too long, but it depends on what you're selling. And then you say, hey, just want to make sure we're on the same page. And I'm going to use my business as an example, because why not? Just want to make sure we're on the same page. You were interested in joining or working with me, right? Yeah. So today we're just going to explore a couple of things to see if this is the right time for you to hire a coach, if I'm the right coach for you. And by the end, my hope is that you'll be able to make an empowered decision, whether it's a yes or a no. Does that work for you? And then they'll say yes or no. When you get agreement in the beginning, it lightens the pressure, because they're on the other side getting nervous too. They know that they're like, oh, they're gonna have to make a decision. So let's just get the elephant out of the room in the beginning, right? Let's just say, hey, this is where we are, right? You're vibing with me, right? Yes, all right, Sophia, you got me, you get me, thank you. So, and I have my notes here, so you know me, I wanna be able to give you a whole bunch of information. So get that agreement up front and early. It also helps you practice being able to ask really tough questions. I put air quotes around the tough because they're not tough, they're just direct. And we want to make sure that we're not skating around things. We want to be really clear, because some people will come on a call and don't get me wrong, there's nothing completely wrong with it, but some people have no intention on hiring you. So if you don't put it up front, then you won't really be able to serve them as powerfully. I actually had an experience where I did this one time, and the woman said, oh, no, I'm not looking to hire a coach. I was just, you had this free call and I thought I could get some free advice. And I go, oh, well then we must be, we're not aligned actually. This call specifically for people who are interested in hiring a coach. So how about you get back to me when you feel like you're ready to hire a coach? And she wasn't all that happy, but look, I have to be honest. You got to be real. You got to be, secure about your time. So first thing is first. I know, wasn't that funny? So first things first, mindset. Set your intention before you get on the call, and then set the intention with the client while you're on the call. Hey, Mary, thanks for joining. You guys are so cool. Oh, I didn't say hi to Wes. Hey, Wes. All right. So step number two. Listen more than you talk. Please do this. Please, please, please. Please listen before more than you talk. Have you ever been on a sales call and they are just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and at some point you're like, I wanted to hire you. I wanted to buy your service, but you're driving me crazy so much and you're giving me so much information. I'm overloaded and I actually want to get away from this conversation because it's too much. So I beg you, please listen more than you talk. So let me give you an idea of what that looks like. Number one, start out the conversation. So, okay, you start off the conversation and you said, we're on the same page. Okay, this is the potential of hiring me or working with us or purchasing our product, whatever it is. Cool, they're in agreement. So take about 5 or 10 minutes to tell me about what's going on. The key with setting up the 5 or 10 minutes, hey Nikki, the key with setting up the 5 or 10 minutes is that you're creating this container for people to know that they get to just speak it all out. And you sit there, and if you have a hard time, you interrupt people, put yourself on mute, and you sit there and you listen and you take copious notes. Because here's what happens. When people start to talk and they start to kind of ramble, what they're doing is they're processing things in their mind. So they're putting pieces together, and you're going to hear little nuggets of like, oh, we've really been struggling with trying to figure out how we can get more of our team on board, but they're really having a challenge with having adopted a really good company culture. And, we tried to do this retreat the last time, and I guess it didn't really work because a lot of people don't drink wine. They start rambling, and you can start to hear, and I just use that as an example, like say you're a company that does employee engagement. You can hear, oh, okay, so they just don't understand what their clients do, and they need other ways to incentivize them. So you're gonna start listening through the gaps and writing out different solutions. So by giving them a container of like, take 5 to 10, maybe 7 minutes, depending on how long your calls are, let me know what's going on. If you're doing this in person, and let's say you have an hour and it's with like a team of people in corporate, give them 10 minutes. Give each person 3 minutes, right? Make sure everybody is feeling heard, because people want to feel heard. Listen more than you talk. Tip number 2, recap, listen more than you talk. And then what you want to do after they outline what's kind of going on, you want to ask a lot of questions, but not those surface level questions. What's your budget? Have you thought about this? A lot of you guys go into this have you thought about thing because you're trying to prove yourself. And I hear this a lot from people who are like, I find that you're trying to prove yourself when you get on a sales call and then they leave like, oh my gosh, that was the best call, thank you so much. And they never get back to you. You send them a proposal or you tell them how much your services cost and they never get back to you. Why? Because you've given all of the gold away. And the way you're giving the gold away is by throwing ideas at them. And when you throw ideas at them, you're trying to prove your worth and prove your value. You don't need to do that. This is about discovering, and there's going to be a part later on. Tip number 3, we'll talk about like how to show your value and how to offer a solution. But don't do this when you're still listening. When you're listening and you're curious, you ask questions like, and I wrote out 5 questions so that you guys have a really good understanding. Number 1, where are you trying to go, or what are you trying to create? So you listen to them for about 5 minutes, knowing what their current situation is. Then you want to know, well, how would you like it to be? Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to create? And give them some good amount of time with that, right? Maybe they take another 3 minutes to really outline that and paint a picture. And even if they say, I don't know, say, well, you have to have a vision, some type of imagination, some type of dream, and write that down, because that's the solution that they want you to create. And then this is the cool part. When you're on a sales call, your job is to help people discover something about themselves that they didn't realize was there, or their company. You are going to really have to resist the urge of throwing out, well, here's what's wrong, and here's what you need to do, and here's the idea. Because yes, it positions you as an expert, but you want them to feel like they have some ownership in the sales call instead of being thrown and talked to. So the next question that you say is, okay, so I get that right now you're feeling challenged by your team not being engaged, and you want them all to feel like a family. What's your strategy to go from A to B? And pause, like a long pause, like a good old pregnant pause, like a pause where you push mute and you're like, what you gonna say? I usually like to say count to like 5 and then wait again. And sometimes they'll say, you're still there? Oh, yeah, I was just giving you time to think. Because then they get to sit with the discomfort of not knowing. And this is not a trick or anything, but you have to allow people to have space. They know that this is an issue, but you have to create space for them to either think about it and say, well, I actually don't have a strategy, or that's why I'm talking to you, or I was kind of thinking this, that, or the other thing. But you're pulling out more information from them so that they'll be able to collaborate with you, co-create with you. And I'll talk about that in a second. So remember the questions. Tell me a bit more about what's going on. Where do you want to go, or what are you trying to create, that future vision? And then what is your strategy to go from A to B? And then you want to get into like, well, what's the pain about, right? And look, you don't have to write these questions down verbatim, but if you structure your calls and your questions similarly around this, based off of your business or your service, whatever you're providing, you'll get the gist of it. So then when you go into the pain, you want to look at things like, well, what's the cost of not doing something? Because most people are either kicking the can, they're afraid of how much things are going to cost, they're afraid of how long it's going to take. And so you could have the perfect solution, but they're still a little antsy because maybe they don't have the cash flow, or maybe they don't see how they could take on another project. So you actually want to uncover, and this is the question, right? So what's been the cost so far? And what would the cost be if you were to delay taking action on this? And when they might get caught up on the word cost, but what have been some of the consequences, if you will? Some people might say, well, I'm stressed out all the time because I have to micromanage all these individual employees, whatever. Or they say, well, I'm not making any money in my business. Or I'm constantly so afraid of running out of clients that I'm doing deals that are lower than I would normally do. And so I'm leaving money on the table. But you've got to allow them to get to like the pain point of like, what is this costing them? And then once they're clear about what it's costing them, there are two important questions. And these are the last two in the 5 that I was telling you about. Two important questions. Number one, how important is it? How important is it? Because for you or I, if we're on the other side of that call, we could hear, oh my gosh, the pain, you're losing money and they're doing X, Y, and Z. Obviously, this is important. But we don't have the context around everything else that's going on in their business. So it could be important, like on a scale from 1 to 10, a 6, a 5. Or it could be like, oh my gosh, this is so important, it's a 9 or a 10. But you need to help them articulate that. So I usually do a scale of like, from a scale from 1 to 10, how important is this to your business? How important is this to you personally? How important is this to the company's strategic goals, whatever we're talking about? But here's the other thing. Something could be important, but it doesn't mean that it's urgent. So your last question is, how urgent is this? So something can be really important and it still doesn't get done because there's this other urgent fire. But what you're looking for is when something is important and urgent. From a scale from 1 to 10, how urgent is it? How badly do you need to get a solution? If the urgency is at a 2 or a 3, okay. So it's not that urgent, but it is very important. What's getting in the way of its urgency? Because then once you're able to have, like, it's almost like a recipe, like all the ingredients. So let me recap. Once you spend maybe 10 to 15 minutes discovering these things, think about what you have. Number one, you know the client's situation, their current situation. Number two, you know what they're looking for, what solution they're after. Number three, you get to see how far they've thought into a strategy, and so that's something you can build upon. Number four, you get to evaluate the pain that they're experiencing, what they're leaving on the table, what they're sacrificing, what consequences are there because they haven't solved this. Number five, you get to really gauge how important it is. And number six, how urgent it is. You basically have everything you need right there, right? Which brings me to step number 4. Now, step number 4 is about serving. This is where the soul comes in. This is not where you go use car salesman and you're like, yeah, I could put you in this hoopty. This is where you get to relate to them and be authentic and be a human being and understand and be genuine and honest. Once you see the world that they're living in and the pain point that they want to solve, you have to look in yourself and say, am I the right fit? Is what I offer the thing that would move them forward? And if you're not, this may be the time where you can say, you know what? I don't think that I can provide the solution you're looking for, but I do have some people in mind to refer you to. And it's important to have your network up, because if you don't have anyone to refer them to, then you completely become like less valuable. But if you do have someone to refer them to, then you create a mutually beneficial relationship. You refer them to someone, that person who you refer them to is going to be thankful. Again, in my From Burnout to Breakthrough guide, you've probably seen, if you've downloaded it, that there's a section for network. It's important to have a referral network. But let's say you are a good fit. This is where you get excited. So let me jump back a little bit because I get really excited about this part. Remember how in the beginning we were like, make sure you get agreement that you're on the call to get hired or to talk about the potential of working together. In step 4, this is where you want to get agreement again. Okay. So I hear you saying that right now your current challenge is this. Where you want to go is here. You're thinking some of the solutions may be X, Y, and Z, that it's causing you this kind of pain. It's really important to you and it's really urgent. Did I get that right? That's where the agreement comes in. They go, oh yeah, you got that. Or actually, I want to tweak this, blah, blah, blah. It helps them process where you're headed. So you get their consensus right there. And then you say something to the effect of, okay, well, from what I see, I think I could really be of service to you because we would hit on A, B, and C, which will allow you to move from here to there. And this is where you can throw in a client example. And my previous clients or other clients I've worked with have seen, in a similar situation, have seen X, Y, and Z. It doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to be in depth. You just throw the solution out there. And then you say, if we were able to make this work, what questions can I answer for you so that you can feel really good about this decision? Now, usually, this is when all of the logistical things come into play, right? They're going to say, okay, how long would this take? So for me, if you work with me privately, it's a 6-month program. So I say, it's a 6-month program, and you would meet with me every other week. But you do have me in your back pocket through the WhatsApp app. If you guys know about WhatsApp, you can send audio recordings and text message recordings, and they're all encrypted. I absolutely love using it with my clients. And so it's 6 months, but it's not that we're going to be on the phone every single day or every single week for 6 months, but you do have me in your back pocket. But I know with my previous clients, it takes 6 months to transform some of these bigger things in your business. So you have to be ready to commit for 6 months. And they go, okay, great. Well, and they'll have all these other questions, and then they're going to say the thing about price. How much does it cost? You guys, if you're not comfortable with your pricing, this is going to bomb. It's going to bomb. It's going to bomb. And so my key trick is this. Know your prices and practice them often. Know your prices and practice them often. Or put your prices on your website. I know a lot of people are like, we don't want to do that. I played with both. I found that by putting my prices on my website, it eliminated a lot of people who weren't looking to really hire me and actually closed more deals. So that was my experience. Be transparent up front because my prices are going to change anyway. I mean, they're going to change, right? They probably may go up at some point. But what I'm trying to say is there's no negotiating because I have service offerings for all different levels. And so you can decide. But when you negotiate on price without taking away value, then your price becomes lofty. So some people might say, okay, it's $1,000 to get this particular graphic design project done. But then they say, oh, can you do a little better? Okay, well, it's $800. Where the heck did $200 go? You didn't say, okay, well, if you take out this extra graphic, we can bring it down to $800. If you just take money out if you just take money out without taking out some type of value, people are going to think you're just pulling a price out of your butt, and it does not relate to the actual product they're getting. So remember that when negotiating. Negotiation is not just about getting to a price that feels good. It's about taking out certain pieces of value so that they can afford what they want. But if you're not confident in the value that you are offering, your price point, it's going to be weird. It's going to be like, yeah, so working with me, yeah, I mean, we can make anything work. We can do payment plans and stuff like that, but most people just like to do payment plans. And it was like, it's going to be like $300. It's going to take you all that time to get there because you're not confident. Instead of saying, a solution like this would be $300. Did you see my smile at the end? That's another trick. Smile at the end of saying your prices. because then it just lightens the energy completely. And even if you're over the phone or you're in person, it reinforces like, that's a good price. If you need practice around this, because sales is just practice, create some accountability structures with some people in your network, and they'll just call you and say, hey, Kiera, how much do you charge? I charge $300. Practice being able to say it often and like on the whim, because that way you don't feel really funny about when you actually have to say it to a client. Pricing's always wacky for everyone. If you have a really high price service or offering, go ahead and get pricing out of the way up front. You might want to give a range, or you might want to just say it directly. But I think when we wait to the end and it's a really high price, we like build up this momentum to be like, and it's $10,000, and people are scared. Don't worry about that. And don't be surprised that there are going to be objections. People are going to push back. People are going to hesitate. The key point, though, is when you say your price, be quiet. $300, quiet. Let them process it, and let them be the one to say the very next thing. They will tell you if they can afford it. They can tell you if they don't, and then you can work it out from there, okay? So don't be so quick to downgrade yourself and make yourself feel like, oh, maybe they can't afford it because they're quiet. Again, mute button, mute button, mute button. Cool? Okay. Hey, Angie, thanks for joining. Let's see, what else? Okay, so then this is the 5th step. This is so easy. And it's really funny. Is it the 5th one? No, I think it's the 4th one. Whatever the case may be. It's so easy that I completely resisted it for years in my business. Asking for the sale. Asking for the sale. We feel good. We think that we were able to serve the client. And then we get to that awkward point at the end, and we've shared our price with them, and we've answered all their questions. And then it's kind of like, so, like you're waiting around for them to say something. Now, some clients will say like, okay, let's get started, but most won't, because they want to be invited to work with you. And that's what I'd say is like closing the deal. It's an invitation. It's not like, okay, so I'm on this dotted line. You get to say, hey, so are you ready to work together? And like I said, this was tricky for me in the beginning because I would get, I don't know why it was. I was just so nervous. I literally had to write a Post-it note and put it on my notebook before every sales call. And it said, ask for the sale. Do not hang up the phone without at least saying, hey, do you want to work together? And you know why it was? Because I was scared to hear a no. But you have to hear a ton of no's in order to hear a yes. So whatever you do, make a commitment to yourself that at the end of every conversation, you're going to ask for the sale. Now, maybe they're not ready yet and they'll say, oh, not quite. But then that's when you get clear on what the follow-up looks like. Okay, great. How much time do you need? Let's schedule a call. But you have to ask. Got it? Okay, let me do a quick recap. So you want to serve them powerfully by getting agreement around what their pain points are. Then you want to invite them into a discovery conversation about what questions you can answer for them to help them feel really comfortable about the decision. And then you want to end the call with asking, ready to work. Really light, nothing heavy. Hey, let's get started. You ready? Are you all in? Something easy. Bonus tip, and then I'll wrap up. This is so important, and I see so many people miss this step. We are terrible at follow-up. And I relate to it because, again, we're talking about soulful sales. It's closing the energy. Closing the energy. You get off of a sales conversation, they may say they need a couple of days, those couple of days go by, they don't actually get back to you. There are a number of creative ways that you can go about closing the energy, because you know how you have that kind of like lingering thing out there where you know that this person needs to get back to you, or you sent them a contract and they haven't signed yet, or you know that they missed their follow-up call and you're quite kind of not sure if you should follow up or they're still interested or not. That's a power leak. That drains so much of your confidence and your power in your sales and in your business. Sometimes, I remember Again, this is just from a lot of trial and error. I remember one time where I had to sit down with my coach and I wrote out a list of all the people that I had open energy with, meaning all the people who have gotten on sales conversations with me, didn't give me a clear yes or no, and that I had kind of let trickle away. And she had me go one by one and call each person to close the energy. And it was scary. It was scary, but it was so powerful. And I got hired from doing it because I would pick up the phone and said, hey, and I'll just use Angie because she's on. Hey, Angie, I know back in March we talked about working together and I haven't heard back from you. I just wanted to see what your decision is. Please let me know either way. If I don't hear back from you by the end of the week, I'll assume that it's a no. You can send that via email, you can send that on a voicemail, or you can have that conversation over the phone. But the power in saying, if I don't hear back from you but a certain time frame, I assume it's a no, is that, look, if you're not going to close the energy, I'm going to close the energy. But it has to be closed. We have to be closed. So I highly encourage you, if you haven't done so, this is one of the most powerful things that gets you hired, because some people will go, oh my gosh, no, I actually do want to work with you. Thank you so much. I've been meaning to get back to you. Send me the contract. And it's just a matter of being the leader in the relationship. So if you take anything away from today's video, take away this activity. Sit down, take 10 minutes, write out all the people who you have open energy with, and go back in and close the energy with the intention of a yes or no. Sometimes when I'm on the call with people, or like if I'm on a follow-up call and they keep kicking the can, I go, look, I really want to serve you and I see a really big opportunity, but I also don't want you to feel pressured. But I know for a fact that being a leader in your business requires you to make some tough decisions. And I encourage you to make a tough one now. Will you please just tell me yes or no? No maybes, no laters, yes or no. Because if it's a no now, that's fine. You always can come back to me in a couple of months. But leaving it open-ended doesn't serve either one of us. Make sense? Cool. So as a recap, because I've shared so much information with you all, if you have downloaded my From Burnout to Breakthrough guide, you will see that on page 4, there's an assessment for your entire business. And today we're talking about the money section, specifically around getting better at sales. Sales will change how you are experiencing your business, especially when you put more soul into it, more intimacy, more relationship, more of you. It doesn't have to be pushy. It doesn't have to be sleazy. It just has to be authentic. And the way to do that, and I'll recap the steps for you, is step number 1. Start with your mindset. Notice if you think sales is about getting lucky or if it's about being in an abundant mindset of service. Make sure that you set the intention with your prospect up front on the phone. Hey, today we're going to be talking about the potential of you purchasing this product, or potential of hiring me, or the potential of us working together. Number 2, make sure that you're doing more listening than talking. Asking a ton of questions, giving them a ton of space to express themselves, pausing for at least 5 seconds after they answer, just so that they can let the rest of the wheels in their head turn, because that's where you're going to get the gems from. Hey, Barbara. You also want to come from a place of service. Once you have a really clear picture of what their current challenges are, where they want to go, what it's costing them, what strategies they have in place, if any, how important it is, and how urgent it is, share that back with them. That may be the most powerful thing that they've ever heard in a while. Someone to take all of the clutter in their brain and package it up in a bow and say, here's what I heard. Is this correct? Now that we're on the same page, here's what I recommend. Be careful to not give away all of your ideas, because when you give away your ideas, that's when they've already gotten free value. You actually want to draw them into the service you provide and use your former clients as examples, but you don't have to give them specific answers. When you notice you're giving too many specific answers, you're proving yourself. And you don't have to prove yourself. You're worthy. You have testimonials. You have referrals. You don't have to give away your value for free in order to be hired. Now, that doesn't mean to like hold everything back, but be very careful, because if you answer all their questions and give them a solution, they don't have to pay you for it. And then lastly, don't hang up that phone until you ask to work together. Don't walk out of that office until you say, hey, can we work together? What would we need to answer in order to work together? And then bonus tip, close the energy. Make sure you're closing the energy. Cool? Cool. I hope you guys found this to be incredibly valuable. Replay viewers, I know that there's a lot of things in here that you probably are just taking notes on copiously. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. I am open and available. If you want to hop on a call with me to kind of sort some of these things out, please do. And if you haven't downloaded the From Burnout to Breakthrough guide yet, you gotta get it. It has so many cool tips and tricks in there. And this is just one little tiny part of the whole guide. Thank you all for being here with me. Thank you for allowing me to share some of the ways that I have incorporated more soul into my sales. And have a great rest of your day, you guys. Bye.